Grady College at the University of Georgia, this is Grady Newsource.
News denied the issue of race on the university campus with questions about diversity.
But first, a major milestone in the university's history of racial relations. This Saturday, the Alumni Association will recognize its very first official UGA Black Alumni Group. Many of Georgia's Black alumni and students took part in the Million Man March in Washington, D.C. last week. This celebration came in honor of the 20th anniversary of the original march. Program coordinator Raylan Waters says that the timing and climate is right, and it was the perfect timing to take advantage of this opportunity. This is 53 years after UGA graduated its first Black students. This university has 14,000 current Black alums. The official announcement of the group will be made this Saturday at Myers Quad as part of the Alumni Association's homecoming activities.
According to the University of Georgia, the 2015 freshman class is the most diverse in UGA history. Students say that the institution has improved over the years, but it still has a long way to go. Nearly a third of the students identified themselves as something.
Nearly a third of the students identified as something other than white, 30% to be exact. The university says it wants to increase diversity to reflect the community and give students a broader experience.
I would say it's probably more diverse than I expected because just like going to class and going to the dining halls, I met a lot of people that are from like different countries and like speak different languages and stuff.
This student lives with a large chunk of the freshman class here in Creswell. Creswell is one co-ed dorm that houses about 960 first-year students. These students come from several different backgrounds, including different states.
It's a big adjustment, but I am glad I did it.
Lexi West came to UGA from Texas and lives on Hall 7C. Lexi describes her hall as ethnically diverse. One of her hallmates, Monique Lee, is Korean and a member of the Asian Student Association.
So far from what I've seen and tried to get involved in, I've seen different clubs for different ethnicities and cultures and all that.
Monique likes to hang out with Jessica Johnson and her roommate, who live just a few doors down. Jessica is a pre-med student and is involved in the Black Advisory Council and NAV Compass, a ministry for minorities. She's also a member of Delta Phi Epsilon, a sorority that just came to campus this year.
And now we're back just to let everybody know that we accept everyone.
Jessica says she was surprised by the culture shock she experienced when coming to UGA. She expected to be the only one of color in all her classes, but was happy to find out this was not the case.
It lets me know that even though I am a minority, I can still be here.
Kaylee Sutton lives across the hall from Jessica and realizes the importance of having a diverse freshman class. She says diversity was not a consideration for her when applying to UGA.
Definitely being here, I can see how diverse it is, especially our freshman class.
Not all halls in the dorms look like Creswell 7C, but the benefits of having a diverse hall, much like a diverse class, is clear to students.
After many attempts to speak to the University of Georgia's Office of Institutional Diversity, as well as the multicultural services and programs, they gave us no comment. Their mission and goals state that they want to support and honor the identities, perspectives, and worldview of the entire community, including students, faculty, and staff. They're also focused on a diverse and inclusive environment for learning, teaching, research, and service in the institution. Sondra Bond is the president of the Black Affairs Council at UGA, who has had to deal with lack of diversity at the university. While progress has been made at one of the oldest public universities, I was supposed to read that. Sondra Bond is the president of the Black Affairs Council at UGA, who has had to deal with lack of diversity at the university. While progress has been made at one of the oldest public universities in the country, there is need for a greater diversity on campus. Sondra Bond hopes to see more minorities be admitted next year. Arisu Taid, leader of the Persian Student Union, says she has felt the lack of diversity at the University of Georgia firsthand. Arisu claims that the university could do a better job at displaying diversity on campus. She also states that when it comes to minorities and diversity, other schools like GSU and Georgia Tech do a better job.
That it's growing, but it could be better. Just the fact that, like, whenever I applied to UGA, I found out only 7%. It's literally on the website. Only 7% of the student body is African American. That, like, made me really, really sad.
Arisu Taid is very passionate about growing the Persian Student Union and reaching even more students. What are locals saying about tonight's Democratic presidential debate? Plus, Georgians are getting a front row seat to the primaries as several high-profile candidates spend time in the Peach State.
Perfect. It says you need people skills.
Check.
Driver's license.
Check.
And a high school diploma. You've got one of those, right?
Skip the drama. Get your diploma.
I got that.
You are good to go.
Take that first step towards a better future. Find free adult education classes at finishyourdiploma.org.
A boy born in Joplin, Missouri was fascinated by anything with wheels and a motor. The odds of him going on to fascinate millions with his talent? 1 in 260,000. The odds of this born racer having 157 career top 10 finishes in NASCAR? 1 in 125 billion. The odds of him winning both the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year? 1 in 195 million. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I'm NASCAR driver Jamie McMurray, and my niece has autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
The Democratic presidential debate airs tonight, and some UGA students are preparing to watch it. Young Democrats of UGA are hosting a viewing party for when the debate airs on CNN. Reporter Valentina Urego spoke with members of the Democratic and Republican parties. Valentina, tell us what they say.
Some obviously opposing views and ideologies and who's supporting who, but one thing is for sure, both will be tuning in.
On campus, excited about seeing what the Democratic candidates have to say.
She says she is just hoping the students listen carefully to what is being said so that they better understand the issues. The young Republicans say they want the same thing, for people to better understand the issues being debated.
We encourage all of our members to be up to date in what's happening on both sides of the aisle.
Russell Edwards, the chair of Clark County Democrats, talked about the difference in excitement and expectation for the candidates among the Democrats.
I haven't had many excited Hillary Clinton supporters come up to me. I think that's just testament to the populist fervor that Bernie Sanders has tapped into. He's got supporters already sort of going out and talking.
On campus, Democratic organizations, UGA for Hillary, Bulldogs for Bernie, and Young Democrats of UGA are hosting a debate viewing party tonight at Transmetropolitan in downtown Athens with about 100 people RSVP'd to come.
As a footnote, the Young Republicans say they will be watching the debate as well, but only as individuals, not as a group. Both frontrunners in the Republican primary have Georgia on their mind. Republican Ben Carson spoke at Free Chapel Church in Gainesville on Sunday to several thousands. He was promoting his new book, A More Perfect Union. He talked about his rough childhood and how he became inspired to pursue a career in medicine. He went on to become a celebrated neurosurgeon. He discussed the problems he sees in America, which include political correctness. He said that America is still a great nation.
There's a lot of people trying to get in here and not too many people trying to get out.
Carson signed copies of his book after both services. Republican frontrunner Donald Trump also made a stop in Georgia this weekend. Trump made a stop in Gwinnett County on Saturday. He spoke at the North Atlanta Trade Center. The attention Georgia is receiving from those seeking to be a presidential nominee can be attributed, in part, to Georgia's early primary date. As part of the much-discussed SEC primary, several southern states have moved up their primary dates to increase their pull in choosing each party's nominee. Other candidates, notably Jeb Bush, have already visited Georgia. He campaigned at a UGA game in September. A new property tax increase is being proposed in Barrow County this weekend. Find out how this county is reacting to the tax increase after the break.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's not something you buy.
Or something you take.
In fact, there's only one way to get it.
It has to be given to you, freely.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape. Consent.
If you don't get it, you don't get it.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Thanks for coming in for the interview.
Oh, yeah, of course.
All right, we got your personal references, your resume, high school diploma or equivalent.
Skip the drama. Get your diploma.
Yes, it's right there.
Great.
Take that first step towards a better future. Find free adult education classes at finishyourdiploma.org.
Look at me. Hey.
Raymond, look at Mommy.
Maybe the light hurts his eyes.
Maybe she's just not hungry. Maybe he can't hear us. Maybe we're not stimulating him enough. Maybe it's a phase.
Avoiding eye contact is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today. The sooner it's diagnosed, the better.
The Barrow County Commission has approved an increase in property taxes as part of a last-minute budget deal. Reporter Nathaniel McDaniel says the tax increase is getting mixed reviews from residents.
The budget was approved last week, but the tax to cover the increase was approved last night.
Much longer. The Barrow County property tax increase comes from a 2016 budget that was approved just hours before an impending government shutdown. Increases range from 5 to nearly 14% across the county's municipalities. Winder resident Denise DeMerit feels the increase is unfair to taxpayers.
It's not right because, people who don't have that much income, especially low people.
Dr. Nicole Tobias of Winder feels the taxes are fair.
Unfortunately, people that end up really frustrated and uninformed don't come to meetings like this and ask the questions they need to ask, right? They complain about it in letters to the editor, and they complain about it to their friends and their neighbors, but they don't show up where their voice can actually be heard.
The former Winder City Council candidate also vented her frustration over the hearing's low turnout.
I don't mind increases in taxes if they're fair and if people can account for why that revenue stream is necessary and how it's going to be spent. I don't have a problem with that.
Floral wholesaler Philip Burgess says he thinks the county's ends justify their means.
You have to pay for services. The beautification thing that they've done here downtown, this is not cheap.
and you got to pay for it some way, and there's no way to get any more money. The pie's only so big.
District 6 Commissioner Ben Hendricks says a contentious budget session left commissioners with no alternatives.
We have to have a balanced budget every year, and in order to meet that, to provide the services that are required, there had to be an increase in the millage rate.
The Barrow County Courthouse at 11:30 a.m. and 6 p.m.
How much of an increase was that exactly?
Which is where Winder is, and in all other districts it's going to be 5%.
Okay, so the tax increase will be implemented in 6 of the 7 county districts. A proposed property tax increase is set to go into effect next week in Barrow County. Winder City residents will pay over 8% more than the county's other cities. Through capital purchases, the new fire tax budget has given the department a new engine, new battalion vehicle, new self-contained breathing apparatus, and a new increase in phase 2 of the new training facility. Lieutenant Scott Dakin is excited for the new equipment and believes that it is vital to the production of the fire department.
Incredible. It's going to help us do our job a whole lot better. Not that we ever did bad, but it's all safety related.
The funds from the tax has been separated out and allows the fire department to have more transparency about where the funds are allocated. Jerome Matthews, Grady Newsource.
The great outside. We both love the outdoors. So shiny. That's not a flower. We both love geology. Oh, look. An igneous one. That's not a rock. And she knows a lot about wildlife. A labradoodle. That's not a dog. Hanging out has been kind of fun.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
Hi, may I please have an application? Thank you.
Skip the drama. Get your diploma.
Okay.
Take that first step towards a better future. Find free adult education classes at finishyourdiploma.org.
Maybe he's really focused.
Hey, Michael. Michael. Maybe he likes spinning the wheels.
Maybe he just loves trucks.
Maybe he's just being a boy.
Preoccupation with objects is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today. The sooner it's diagnosed, the better.
They're coming. Places, everybody.
Light check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Everything looks good on our end.
And lights.
Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
This year's theme for homecoming, Classic City to the Big City, will attempt to be the biggest homecoming in recent years for the University of Georgia. Reporter Brett Homer says the new homecoming director plans to make UGA's homecoming bigger and better than ever. Brett?
Jasmine, they say that it's going to be bigger because it will involve more students, and better because it will involve higher profile, bigger events.
Homecoming Week, a timeless tradition at college campuses across the United States. Here at the University of Georgia, it's Homecoming Week, but for years, no one has really noticed. That's all changing under the ambitious leadership of new homecoming director, Crystal Dees. Under Crystal's leadership, the homecoming staff is looking to boost awareness and breathe some life into this dying tradition.
A lot of people didn't know it was homecoming, and homecoming is one of my favorite times of the year, so I'm just how is it that with UGA being 35,000 students and for homecoming to not be as big as a deal that I thought it would be. Yeah. And so I was just we need to change that.
Events like painting the Tate bus stop have been a tradition at UGA for years. It's apparent these efforts are working. This year, participation tripled in the amount of organizations that came out Monday night to show their spirit and earn their valuable spirit points.
Well, going on behind us is our UJ Homecoming 2015 street paint. It is a homecoming tradition where we take to the streets and paint it all pretty in honor of a homecoming week. All of our groups competing in the Spirit of Homecoming competition have to paint a little block of the street in accordance with our theme, which this year is from the classic city to the big city. It's a lot of fun. Everyone's out here having fun, eating donuts. We have Zumba going on down in Tate Plaza for those who are letting the paint dry or just taking a break. So it's just a lot of fun for students to stay up late and hang out with friends.
Increasing participation, giving out more promotions, and spreading awareness have been the plan to make Classic City to the Big City a memorable homecoming. Through a painstaking effort, UGA will be putting on its biggest event, a free Brad Paisley concert at the intramural fields that would be bigger than Crystal ever expected.
When we first put out the tickets, we put out about 6,000, and they went super quick. We didn't think they were gonna go as quickly as it did, but we were sold out in less than, I think, a week. And so we went back to the drawing board and tried to figure some things out. So we released 6,000 more tickets, and I think right now we are. I think of yesterday when I checked, I'm pretty sure that we sold out of the 6,000 too. So roughly 12,000 students are going to be there.
Dee says she's hoping that with renewed efforts, homecoming will continue to grow year after year. Brett Homer, Grady Newsource.
Thank you, Brett. And with 58 organizations involved this year, this classic city should surely turn into the big city. After this break, a complete wrap-up.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Morning, Gary. We are GetSchooled.com. You want a college education, don't you?
You know you do.
Yeah, but I don't know where to start. That's why we're here. We're free, handsome.
Oh, I think we're breathtaking.
And here to guide you through every step of the way, starting with attendance. Gary, financial aid forms. Biology homework, G. I got this. Is that Bran?
Colleges love extracurricular activities. Chess really isn't my thing.
I got this. Doesn't matter. Go ahead. Picking a college, man. You and us go together like tacos and Tuesday.
And I love tacos.
Fire and ice.
Those don't really go together.
Go to GetSchooled.com for more info.
So you see, son, good manners are important. Should I go through it again?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, excuse me, sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If the door's locked, knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't stare, don't use bad language, or talk with your mouth full. Keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
Don't interrupt. Cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give your seat up to anybody who has trouble standing. Bottom line, treat others the way you want to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
Good talk.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours.
Dr. King, what's your next move?
In March from Selma to Montgomery.
Selma's loud for every man, woman, and child.
We will not wait any longer.
In front of a crowd.
Thine eyes have seen the glory. Glory, glory, hallelujah.
Okay, Simon, what do people wear?
Clothes.
That's right, so it's important to learn how to dress yourself. Here's how it's done. Shirt, underwear, pants, socks, shoes. Underwear, always first, name tag on the back. Then pants and shirt. Go ahead and put this on. Now with the shirt, you want to make sure the first button's right or you have to start all over again, okay? Socks left on left, right on right. Tying the shoes, we're gonna take the laces, we're gonna cross them over, we're gonna turn around where the bunny goes down in the hole, pull it tight, and bunny ears. Got it?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
The University of Georgia has clearly made an effort to expand their diversity. This year's entering freshman class has been the most diverse in UGA's history. The percentage of minorities admitted to this institution has been increasing every year. Even though they still have a long way to go, many clubs and organizations have opened doors for a faster change.
Alumni Association is introducing the first UGA Black alumni group this weekend to finish off homecoming. This is such an important time for UGA.
Athens and the state of Georgia are clearly gearing up for election season. Several locals plan to gather and watch the Democratic primary debate tonight. While they will be watching on that event on the television screen, Georgians have already been treated to in-person visits from several prominent candidates. Ben Carson and Donald Trump were here this weekend. Trump and Carson spoke in Gwinnett County on Saturday, and then Carson spoke at a church in Gainesville on Sunday. And with Georgia's primary date set for an early March 1st, the much-discussed SEC primary will likely keep politicians coming to our state for the next few months.
Athens and the state of Georgia are clearly gearing up for election season. Many locals are planning to gather tonight to watch the Democratic primary debate, but residents of Georgia have already been treated to several visits from high-profile presidential candidates. Ben Carson and Donald Trump were both in Georgia this weekend. Carson spoke at a church in Gainesville on Sunday, and Trump and Carson both visited Gwinnett County on Saturday. Politicians are sure to continue to visit our state because of the new SEC primary, an earlier primary date for Georgia.
Good night.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you so much for watching.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours.
Dr. King, what's your next move?
In March from Selma to Montgomery.
Selma is loud for every man, woman, and child.
We will not wait any longer.
In front of a crowd.
Mine eyes have seen the glory. Glory, glory, hallelujah.
Okay, Simon, what do people wear?
Clothes.
That's right, so it's important to learn how to dress yourself. Here's how it's done. Shirt, underwear, pants, socks, shoes. Underwear, always first, name tag on the back. Then pants and shirt. Go ahead and put this on. Now with the shirt, you want to make sure the first button's right or you have to start all over again, okay? Socks left on left, right on right. Tying the shoes, we're gonna take the laces, we're gonna cross them over, we're gonna turn around where the bunny goes down in the hole, pull it tight, and bunny ears. Got it?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
Hey, Gabby, how you doing? How's the play date and sleepover?
Dad, it was great.
Awesome. Okay, I'm on my way. Hey, guys, what are you doing?
We're going swimming. We're going biking. Yeah!
I'll see you in a little bit, guys. I love you.
Hi, babe. How was school today?
Hi, Dad. It was great.
Okay, honey. I'll be home soon. Remember, you're never too far away from your kids to be a dad. Reach out and take a second to check in, because sometimes the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Can you help me with this? My new dad teaches me all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
He helps me with homework.
That would be 3.6795.
Thanks.
Yep.
He helps me with my decision making.
I wouldn't use this one. Ever.
And he's even teaching me how to drive.
And that's why cars have bumpers.
I'm learning so much.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
All right, hello. Welcome to the mock show 5570?
Yeah, 570.
570 post.
5570.
Post show. Yeah, let's close that door. All right. I'm Dylan Richards. I was the senior production manager and the director today. So we'll start off with Michael Castangera, who is the executive producer of our show. Gives a quick rundown of what he thought of the show. Go ahead. Go ahead and do that.
Actually, no, in all seriousness, you should feel pretty good about that, okay? That was extremely rough and very painful, okay? And there's a lot of, bluntly speaking, screw-ups and problems, etc. But that's your first, okay? That's the difference. Now, if you're doing this in 7 weeks' time, I'm gonna raise holy hell. But you're not going to. What you went through, and that's the point of what this whole exercise is about. You go through, and you know, and Dylan and I even talked about, we could delay it, you know, and push it back and make it easier for you and give you more time and all that. But that's not the way the real world works. And so when we sit there, you got to do it, you got to drop it, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do it. And you did. And so by and large, you should feel good about it. You know, you say, okay, here's the big part. Look at yourself and what you did, okay? Even after this time and after all these years, I look at myself and I go, you know, damn, I didn't do a good enough job talking to my 2 anchors. I didn't do a good enough job of communicating. Let me think about what happened. Oh, shoot, I needed to talk about VOs and SOTs and how they're structured, and I'm going to go into some of these details. But the biggest issue is when you look at it, go, all right, what do you come away with it? And say, okay, this I can fix. This I need to work on, all that. But you got the show on relatively cleanly. We actually ended up, we were about 4 minutes late. We ended up about a minute 30 late.
That's really not bad.
Yeah, for a mock show, first time. I'm sorry, Newsource is having a hard time doing it. Right?
We were 2 minutes late today.
They were, yeah, right.
We actually went to break 2 minutes early.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, and so you go,
It's not good.
that's them, and then theoretically they've been through this whole thing that you guys just went through. And they're in Newsource, and they're in their second bloody month of it. And they came up, okay. Well, that's the realities of it. Now, next week is going to be even better. Next week, you got a whole week of working on some stuff and doing some stuff, so that's what you guys will address. What we will do is a post-show critique like this. Yeah, come close to me. I know. Oh, you got one? Good. Your reaction and thoughts. You're the producer.
Hey, okay. Well,
oh, and one of the other things, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I will. Introduce yourselves, by the way, and that's what we'll do, by the way, as anchors. I want to introduce. So, you know, these shows will be recorded. We upload them to YouTube, and then we post them to the website, so all your friends and family and everybody else can have a good laugh.
I was going to say, probably not this one. But. Okay, my name is Niamani Watson. I'm the senior producer this week for Mark's show. What I think we could do better on is definitely the timing. Some of the packages that I thought were like 1:30 were some were shorter, then some were longer, so it threw off the time a little bit. But the packages itself was actually good in my, like what I thought it was really good, the packages. We had some complications with the VOSOTs, like I guess we got like tripped up on should you talk over or
yeah, I think you're still confused about basic formatting, okay?
Yeah.
And I'll send out another note, but a VOSOT, I always have the anchor. I start with the anchor, and then the anchor says an introductory line, what is my lead line, what's going to grab my attention, then I hit video, okay? So on the format it'll say anchor, blah, 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 VO, blah, 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 okay? And then think about what that VO is and what it says, and then it leads into the soundbite, and then you always come back to the anchor after the soundbite.
Yeah, we was also missing some graphics as well to go with our reader or our VO, so.
Yeah, and I want you to look at creating more graphics with Adobe Premiere and or Keynote or whatever, because there are a couple of the instances during the night I'd say, oh, you know, you had some facts and figures or some information in here, and if I did a full screen on it, it would be a lot better. One other logistic thing is going back to the VO, the VOSOT. The VO and the sound bites are cut separately, and that's where we had some issues tonight, and that's where we got confused because the director is waiting for the sound bite to come up, and it was all on one tape. You run the VO, and so for argument's sake, if I've got, say, 20 seconds of copy, I'm going to cut 30 plus seconds of video. So what happens is if the anchor stumbles or whatever, I've got plenty of video, and then what the director's going to do is he'll wipe, punch to the other video, and that way I can know I can hit it all clean. There it is. The anchor stops talking. Boom, he hits the sound bite.
Is just one.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying.
So we can't time them. Yes, we can't time them, but if you drop them as VO and SOT, the other thing was nothing was really labeled the right way. Like,
yeah.
Like it would say, like, it was good that it said, I mean, you guys wouldn't know. Oh, would you hand me that? It was great that they were labeled with like B3 _ like the slug of the story, but I also need to know if it's like a package, if it's a VO, if it's a SOT, or else I can't like roll it. You know what I mean? So make sure when you're labeling stuff that you drop it where it's supposed to be dropped. You label like B3 _ slug of the story _ VO, And then after that, same exact thing, _SOT. And then your director sits down, looks at the video, says, oh, here's the VO, rolls that. As soon as you're done talking, advances to the one that says SOT. That makes sense. So I was just playing video that I didn't know what it was. And make sure when you're producing that the stuff in your rundown matches the stuff that you want to actually roll on air. Because that's what we're looking at when we're queuing stuff up. So looking at your rundown, we're looking at your scripts to make sure you say anchor, VO, SOT, anchor. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. So again, it would be, and I'm just making one up, B3-diversity-package. B5, alumni-VO. So it's very clear, and then they know it. B7, alumni-SOT. So if it's labeled properly, that way they can catch it.
I was going to say, other than that, to be quite honest, like this is really, for a first show and for our first mock show, this is really not bad at all. I thought I was like going to want to kill myself the whole time, but I really didn't. So it was, everyone was working with us. Nobody was being rude to us. So I appreciate that. Usually we have problems with that. So all in all, things were dropped in things are dropped better than they are in Newsource. Just labeling and the scripting really, it wasn't even bad. So good job from a tech point of view. And really, I mean, really not bad.
Yeah, as I said, you know, for first one, you know, it's a pretty impressive start. Go ahead. Anything else from you?
That's all I have. If anybody else wants to say.
Yeah, we're going to go around the table real quick, and I was looking for my rundown. Let me get a, do we have? Okay, so let's start. I'm going to do a quick one, which is let's give the two starting anchors, Fernanda and Jasmine. So, and again, I'm going to do this in no random order, and if I sound like I'm picking on any of you, it's not intentional, but I am going to pick on you. One of the things is also when you're doing a voiceover, don't stop. You know, a lot of it, you start the anchor and you go, oh, I'm going to wait for the director to pull up the video. No, you just keep going. And if I say talk and if you say talk, you know what? Just talk. Keep going. Crank it out, baby. You know, we had the issues because we had the one that's VOSOT and it's all on one tape. We got caught in a couple of you where it's like, hold on, the director's going, where the hell is this going? I got the VO, but I got no sound bite. And that's why we ran. So if you're told, we're going to yell in your ear, when you guys get down there, all anchors, make sure you put in an IFB, okay? So we can talk to you, and then that's the producer's responsibility to say, can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Got me? Good, okay? So quick reaction from you two?
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Like, they told me downstairs to, like, not worry about it. They told us not to worry about the earpiece, so that's why we didn't use it. And also, for the VO, like, I was talking, and they just told me to stop. They were like, don't. But the video kept rolling. And then they were like, okay, go.
Yeah, because we got confused over the VOSOT thing, and at that point, that's where and that's again for me as well as the senior producer, we needed to be in your ear. And I want you to have the IFB in. The reason they told you not was, bluntly speaking, you were a little late and they were sitting there and we were scrambling and we were coming close to airtime and you were still doing it, and that's when we said, screw that, we don't have time. Sit her ass down in the chair. We said it in the nicest way, of course.
Well, see, I got my earpiece in, and we actually did a sound check before everything was going, but for some reason, right when y'all was telling me to talk, I did not hear anything at all, and I didn't even see the floor director. She wasn't telling me to talk, so I was confused about, you know, do I keep talking? Did you have an IFB? Yeah, I did, but when we did the initial sound check, I heard her, but as soon as it came to rolling, it was like I couldn't hear her anymore. And so I was just lost and confused about but it stayed in my ear.
You couldn't hear who? Oh,
yeah, okay. It stayed in my ear, and then I just looked up and saw y'all saying
because
talk.
you weren't holding down the right button.
Right.
Does everyone know how? I mean, I guess the thing over there. Okay.
Yeah, we'll show you. That's one for
yeah,
when you're in there. You got the microphones down, and quite frankly, I'm going to hit both buttons. It'll say anchor 1 and anchor 2. I hit both because unless the others are reading, unless I really know. And say, okay, guys, here's what's happening. I need you to read. Now, if it's 1, if you're reading, quite frankly, I'm going to avoid talking to you reading because, quite frankly, that screws your head up even more because you're reading something and all of a sudden Niamani's whispering in your ear, what are you doing? And it's like, shit, you're gone, you know, your history. So we've got to be careful as to when we do some of that.
And then just a question. So if with mine, I wanted to do like a little graphic. Do you remember the graphic? And it was
They told me that was kill.
no. So with coming with label, do I label it as VO or do I label it as graphic?
Well, what you'll do if you want to like an over-the-shoulder graphic, you would label that as OTS, over the shoulder, because what we do is we put them in. If you're on the virtual set, you'll see there's a monitor keyed in behind you. We'll put them there. So number one, make sure they're 16:9, so they're rectangular, your graphic. And if you put that in the rundown as OTS or have a graphic cue or let your producer know, have the producer tell the director, they'll put that up. Because in Newsource, almost every story will have some kind of graphic behind you. So you're not just looking at a blank screen. But yeah, so you would label that as OTS, same exact thing, and then OTS.
Also, what I want all the anchors to do, intro yourself at the start of each block, okay? So, you would basically say, hi, I'm Fernanda, top story, blah, 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 and each block when we go into it, just before you read it, normally what we'd do is read the first line and then introduce yourself and then whatever, but let's just introduce yourself. And as we already talked about, do not sig out on whatever, okay, camera.
Oh yeah, that's why I went to break. Who was that?
Yeah, I know.
I know. Yeah, actually he was sitting there and he goes, I guess we're going.
Yeah.
Okay, goodbye.
I was like, that's why they cut the rest.
Hey, really, that was my fault, bro, because when you were typing it up like 2 hours ago, I saw it at the end, and I was like, he'll see it, so I'll take that bullet.
You both take understand, you both take the blame, hell yeah. This isn't one of those, I'm gonna come and, whip your butts about it, but you sit there and say, yeah, okay, damn right, all three of you, have a responsibility, even the others, because you're backstopping each other. That becomes critical. If you're in the newsroom, I want you will sig out at that point, okay? Live in the newsroom, I'm Michael Castengera, 570 News, okay? Don't sig out in there. If there is a question, we threw you a little bit of a loop and said, okay, let's do a question, because we were real light, so I'm gonna come up with stuff. Okay, if I ask you a question, the anchor asks you a question, then you don't sig out. So if he says, what was it? You say, well, it was actually this, this, this. And then he comes back and says, thank you, that was semi-intelligent, I appreciate it, and moves on, okay? So that's it. Dress code, I expect you, I want jackets on all of you, I want ties on all of you. If you're out in the field, that's a different thing. When you're in Newsource and you're out, if you actually did end up going to Winterville or whatever, that would be a different story. Or if you're downtown, but if you're in the newsroom or in the studio, you're expected to dress professionally, look professional. That means coat and tie. For women, much prefer not to be sleeveless. Cover yourself, look a little more formal in your presentation, okay? It makes a big difference just looking very much more professional, okay? Part of it is you're also, think of it this way, your audience is a mix of young people like you, and then there's a bunch of old farts like me, okay? And so you want to cut that middle ground in terms of your appearance.
Give Jasmine something that I noticed. It looked like you were about to fall in your sleep. Just like, were you leaning on the desk? It looked like.
Yeah, don't.
It looks like even more so like this.
And this is the one where I'm sitting there, okay? And it's the same thing. If I sloop shouldered like that, I look like a wuss, okay? And none of you guys touch that line or I'll hit you. I am a wuss. But you do, it's all the appearance. And so I'm sitting there, and it's also because, remember when we did the voice stuff, you're gonna get so much better, airflow in the whole 9 yards, and you come across as much stronger and much more authoritative. That's the key of it. You wanna look like, you know what? I'm the authority on this. I know what I'm talking about, and you want to hear it, okay? So that becomes an issue. Why don't you just pass the mic to Jerron? Where is that mic?
Yeah, that's why you sig down,
Yeah, just to remind me, that's why it happened, yeah. Just quick reaction, because I want all the anchors to jump in a little quickly as to thoughts.
I'll get better. Preparation is key with this. If you know your story, then you're really comfortable with it. and it was some parts that I can honestly say that I was still a little bit unclear about. So it helps to know every angle that you're hitting, because then you deliver it in a better.
Yeah, and I mean, part of it is, mechanical. I mean, there are mechanical issues that we've got to master. There are technical issues we've got to master. Biggest thing is then, that's the beauty of this program. You learn so much more. You're getting much more well-rounded. Cool.
Yeah, but it'll get better, I guarantee you.
Money back guarantee?
Hi, so I'm James Thompson. So one thing I think is really going to help, we've already talked about this, but is doing the VO and then the SOT as different files, because with my Ben Carson VOSOT, I thought it was going to be a little long, so I think I added an extra line or something to make sure I made it to the SOT. But yeah, if those are two different files,
yeah, you'll always cut the VO. And again, it's just good because they can cut sharper, they can do it, and quite frankly, you're going to say something, or you're going to either speed up or shorten up, and the director is much more able to talk. Pass on. Yeah, you can't talk without a mic.
Hey, I'm Val and Tina Urego. I have a question though, because when I was watching James do your VOSOT, I noticed like you put video and then you would have to read to yourself to time it. Is that usually is that the easiest way to do it? Like,
yeah.
How do you time yourself? Like, how do you know that you have enough
if you look
video?
at when you write the VOSOT, I mean, it tells you the time up in the corner. And I'm sort of looking at it.
I mean, but you might like talk slower, faster.
Yeah, I know, but that's why I said, remember when you cut a VO and it says it's 20, I'm cutting 30. Okay? I always cut longer.
And then the director can cut it.
If I got a 40-second video, I'm cutting a minute worth, okay? You'll never have a 40-second video, but you will always cut a little bit longer. The one thing you do want to do, and real heavily, is this applies to packages and VOs as well. It's that opening shot that is the most important, okay? Whatever that video is I see first is really the stuff you want to grab me with, all right? Cool. Who's next? Did we get everybody?
Did anybody else want to quickly?
Yeah, anybody else want to share some thoughts, words of wisdom? Miss Jasmine?
Okay, I didn't introduce myself, so Jasmine Calhoun. I felt like I psyched myself out. I made it a bigger deal than what it really was. So I tensed myself up, and so I felt like even just looking at myself when I was looking at the prompter, I was nervous, and you could clearly tell that I was nervous. So had I just had that attitude, or I'm just
actually wasn't. It was bad.
really, I was literally so tense. Like if y'all would have came downstairs and put your hand on my body, you would have felt me shaking. Like it was that bad. So I think
that's common, and that's the whole point. Remember when I talked about the experience you walk out of it with? Every one of you walking into this, are sitting there doing the same thing. I watched every one of you. Hell, I could have quite easily have, killed off half the student population here just by saying boo to some of you, and you would have died right there, But that's normal. I mean, that first time you're looking at that camera, trust me, been there, you sort of go, oh my God, and what the hell's happening? And you think it shouldn't be that hard, it isn't. I would recommend much slower in your delivery. Pace yourselves out. Your normal delivery is going to be a little faster than you can really handle on air, and you lose intonation, you lose pace. And that way you can, just like when I'm talking to you now, listen to me. I stop occasionally because I want to emphasize a point, and then I want to pick up my voice and say, now this is really important, and the whole tone. If I go a little bit slower, I know how I can adjust that. Mike? Oh, post your packages. I want you to post your packages to YouTube, and we'll get them. I'm going to try and get them embedded. We want to embed those onto the website as well. Normally what will happen is this will be recorded, and I'll take it and I will upload it to YouTube and embed it, and then it'll be on the news on the website, hopefully by the end of business tomorrow, depending on YouTube and the embedding process. Ma'am.
I just want to, something I noticed with me and the other reporters, I kind of knew from being at Newsource last year as a volunteer that you have to memorize your remotes when you're live in the newsroom, and not all the reporters knew that. So for next week, And for everyone who's coming to be a reporter all the next times, like, you have to memorize what you're saying, or like know what you're saying.
If you're not in the studio, you won't ever have a problem.
Yeah. So.
And you can't hear
FYI.
the anchor either.
We
Okay.
are working on that, actually.
Yeah.
Working on what?
Like a mix minus, you can hear the show and the anchors.
But if
You can
you're
kind
if
of
you're the
hear it, though.
reporter, you're going to look at it and say, remember the points you're trying to make. That's what you want to do, okay? And you know, the only time you really get careful about it, if it gets into legal issues, you know, where the university chancellor refuted that, saying, I'm going to be very exact. But most cases you're saying, and they're hoping they're going to have a good time, and they know that they're going to make this the homecoming that everybody will love. That's simple, okay? Yeah, much more natural. Cool. Scripting format, mock show clips, reporter intro. Yes, yeah, that's where we had the problem. I think we went and there was no reporter intro. We have to say, reporter so-and-so is in the newsroom to tell us more. It just stopped. And he had no idea, and I had no idea where you were. It was, I think, Ariel's piece. It didn't say Ariel Pinsky has this story or has anything. It was just she stopped talking and, shoot. I guess we better punch her up. Darn.
I don't think anyone was there to cue her either, so.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, this producer of each unit, right? You know, you guys, and I think you did, it seems like work as a team, help each other, et cetera, et cetera. But when it comes down to it, you know, that unit producer is supposed to make sure everybody's in position. I'm not the one going to be chasing the anchors in. Your unit, you say, I want my reporter in position, I want my anchor in position, and I want to make sure that my anchor has their script and my reporter has their script, okay? And then when it starts crunching like that, that producer is going to make sure that the stuff is dropped. If it's running up against time, the reporter and anchor will be in their butts, in their chair. I think that's it for me. That's it? Cool. Look at yourselves and look at it. And Dylan said the same thing, and I don't throw out compliments easily, but you guys did a good first show, so you should
And
feel
just
good
a
about it.
thanks to the production staff, because I know it wasn't easy to work with us at first, so thank you.
Yep. Yep. I don't ever want to hear about problems with the production staff, because then I'll fire your butt before I will the production staff.